with you now at 9:41. We're learning more about what led up to the death of Migos rapper Takeoff.
Newly released footage from the night Takeoff was killed has just dropped, and it changes everything. What the cameras captured moments before and after the shooting might hold the key to the entire case, but the truth behind this tragedy runs deeper than what you saw on screen. And I have every detail they don't want you to know. The viral angle, how perception shifted. Late one night in downtown Houston, a tragic event unfolded outside 8 and 10 Billiards and Bowling. What began as a celebratory gathering of industry insiders quickly turned fatal when gunfire erupted. Initial reports painted the incident as random violence, a case of being in the wrong place at the wrong time. However, as witnesses and reports emerged, a more complex picture surfaced, highlighting proximity, positioning, and intent.
Now to that developing story right out of Houston, rapper Takeoff, best known for being a member of the Grammy Award-winning group Migos, has died.
Takeoff, alongside his cousin and associate Austin, was standing with a group near the entrance when an argument broke out. Tension rose quickly. Gestures, glances, and heated words preceded the fatal shots. The timing and positioning suggested the confrontation was more than spontaneous chaos. It highlighted how quickly situations could escalate when people are clustered in high-profile, crowded environments. For the public, the shift in narrative was profound. The story evolved from a tragic accident to a scenario with layers of questions: the actions of those nearby, the dynamics within the crowd, and the events leading up to the shooting. Fans and commentators debated what could have been prevented and what warning signs might have been missed. The tragedy became a case study in risk awareness, vulnerability, and the impact of being in the spotlight. From a law enforcement perspective, the incident underscored the need for careful reconstruction. Each detail, the timing of exchanges, the positioning of individuals, and the chaos following the shots contributed to understanding motive, intent, and opportunity. For the entertainment industry, it sparked reflection on event security, guest management, and the responsibilities that come with hosting high-profile figures in public spaces. Ultimately, the narrative shift reframed how the incident is understood. It was no longer merely about a life lost. It became about the circumstances that made that loss possible, the choices of those present, and the environment in which violence could unfold. The tragedy highlights a critical lesson. Visibility and proximity can amplify risk, and in the world of high-profile events, perception and safety are inextricably linked.
Meanwhile, in Houston, a jeweler is coming forward with new surveillance video from the night Takeoff died. He tells 11 Alive Takeoff, Quavo, and their entourage stopped by his store just hours before that shooting. As our Cody Alcorn reports, the man known as the King of Bling was one of the last people to see the Grammy-nominated artist alive.
Moments before the gunfire, the argument, the crowd, the setup. The sequence leading up to Takeoff's death reveals as much about the event as the violence itself. Outside the downtown venue, Takeoff and his group were mingling with dozens of attendees. A verbal altercation broke out. Gestures, pointed fingers, and verbal warnings created tension that escalated rapidly. The brief exchange, which might have seemed minor at first, set the stage for the ensuing tragedy. The argument itself shows how physical and spatial dynamics can shape outcomes. People naturally shifted, some stepping back, others attempting to intervene or observe. The clustering of individuals around the entrance, combined with the distraction of casual socializing, created an environment where the escalation could occur almost undetected. It also raises questions about situational awareness. When high-profile figures mingle with crowds, every interaction can carry unintended consequences. This moment highlights the intersection of presence and risk. Takeoff and his associates were not just bystanders, they were central to the developing scene. Each movement, glance, and reaction contributed to an atmosphere where violence could emerge. For witnesses, the sequence demonstrates how quickly social dynamics can tip into danger when confrontation, proximity, and distractions converge. The argument also reframes the story from chance to consequence. It prompts reflection on how social interactions escalate, how intentions are misread, and how preparation or precaution might influence outcomes. For attendees, the brevity of the exchange belies its significance. In those seconds, the foundation for tragedy was laid, a reminder that even casual moments in public spaces can have critical consequences when high-profile individuals are involved. In retrospect, these moments before the shooting illuminate the fragility of safety in crowded, high-energy environments. The positioning of groups, the escalation of minor conflicts, and the unpredictable behavior of attendees all contributed to the deadly sequence. It underscores the importance of awareness, planning, and response, not just for personal security, but for the safety of those nearby. Legacy under re-examination, how Takeoff's memory is being rewritten. Takeoff's death left a deep mark on hip-hop. Known for his talent, charisma, and creative impact, his passing at 28 was mourned across the industry and by fans worldwide. Initially, his legacy was defined by music, potential, and the loss of a rising star. However, the circumstances surrounding the event have shifted public perception, adding layers of context to his memory.
But then, like, people don't understand, like, personally losing a bro, like, don't want to continue that. Like, it ain't the same juice, bro. It ain't the...
For fans, the reevaluation is personal. The images, stories, and moments surrounding his final hours reframe how his life and artistry are remembered. Music that once felt purely celebratory now carries a subtle undertone of vulnerability. Merchandise, tributes, and social media posts take on new resonance, reflecting both admiration and caution. The memory of Takeoff is intertwined with the circumstances of his passing, creating a more complex, reflective narrative. Within hip-hop culture, his story intersects with broader discussions about public visibility, risk, and responsibility. Artists routinely navigate nightlife, parties, and high-profile appearances. Takeoff's death has become a cautionary tale about the balance between lifestyle, exposure, and safety. The loss prompts reflection on how the environment, proximity, and personal choices intersect to shape outcomes in high-stakes social contexts. For the industry, this has practical implications. Labels, management teams, and venues must reconsider safety protocols, guest vetting, and event supervision. The tragedy reinforces that legacy is not just about output, but about the context in which artists operate. Takeoff's story now embodies lessons on presence, positioning, and precaution. Ultimately, Takeoff's memory extends beyond his music. His legacy now includes reflection on circumstances, industry responsibility, and cultural awareness. It serves as a reminder that influence and visibility carry weight, and that remembering an artist involves both celebrating achievements and acknowledging the conditions surrounding their life and death. Venue vulnerabilities. Security breaches and the bowling alley. Question. The early morning hours at 810 Billiards and Bowling in downtown Houston revealed critical vulnerabilities in how high-profile events are managed. What was intended as an exclusive celebration quickly became a scene of tragedy, highlighting how venues must balance access, atmosphere, and security.
There's a new lawsuit tied in the November shooting death of Migos rapper Takeoff. So it was filed by Joshua Washington. He's Quavo's assistant and was also shot that night. Washington is now suing the bowling alley where the shooting took place and 4 other companies who were businesses nearby, saying that there was a lack of proper security. Now, Takeoff's mom has also filed.
High-profile gatherings carry inherent risks. Celebrities, industry insiders, and fans converge in confined spaces, often under the impression that exclusivity guarantees safety. Yet the dynamics of crowds, entrances, and late-night timing can undermine these assumptions. In Takeoff's case, the environment combined casual mingling with high stakes. People clustered near entrances, interactions escalated quickly, and tensions went largely unnoticed until it was too late. The event underscores how spatial and logistical considerations can amplify danger. Placement of security personnel, control of access points, and situational awareness are crucial when hosting VIP guests. Without layered precautions, even a sophisticated or stylish venue cannot prevent sudden escalation. The tragedy suggests that assumptions about safety, based solely on exclusivity or clientele, are insufficient. For venue operators, this is a lesson in liability and responsibility. Private events, late-night parties, and celebrity appearances require robust protocols, including guest vetting, monitoring, and post-event supervision. Insurance, staff training, and crowd management strategies become as essential as aesthetics or ambiance. When safety measures fall short, high-profile events can quickly transition from celebration to crisis. The implications extend beyond liability. In the music and entertainment business, the reputational consequences of inadequate security are significant. Artists and management teams now must consider not only who attends an event, but how the space is controlled, how staff respond, and how exposure is minimized. The incident demonstrates that visibility and luxury cannot compensate for gaps in protection. Ultimately, the lessons are clear. Venues must respect both the cultural and physical realities of celebrity gatherings. Risk is amplified by exposure, proximity, and crowd behavior. What was intended as a party became a case study in vulnerability, emphasizing the responsibility of hosts and operators to anticipate and manage potential threats. In spaces where public and private intersect, planning is not optional, it is essential. The ripple in public perception, reputation, mourning, and fan response. Takeoff's death reverberated far beyond Houston, reshaping the way fans, collaborators, and the wider public process celebrity loss. Initially framed as tragic and random, the incident quickly evolved into a story of context, choice, and visibility, prompting questions about risk, responsibility, and response.
I'll sit right there. black excellence.
For fans, the experience of grief is now layered with reflection. Music once heard as carefree or celebratory carries undertones of caution. The public mourning process includes not only tribute, but analysis, debate, and sometimes frustration. Fans examine circumstances, scrutinize the environment, and consider what could have prevented the tragedy. The narrative has shifted from simple loss to a nuanced understanding of vulnerability. Social media amplifies this ripple effect. Posts, tributes, and discussions proliferate, blending grief with cultural critique. Hashtags and conversations emphasize not just remembrance, but awareness, caution, and reflection on the lifestyle and environment associated with high-profile figures. Artists' movements, event attendance, and visibility are now examined through a lens of risk, changing the way fans interact with celebrity culture. Industry stakeholders are equally affected. Brands, estates, and labels must consider the impact of context on image and legacy. Marketing, endorsements, and public appearances are now weighed against potential exposure to danger. The tragedy demonstrates that perception is inseparable from circumstance. How the public interprets events influences both legacy and commercial considerations. The incident also reframes how bystanders, collaborators, and management are seen. Witnesses, associates, and venues are scrutinized, creating a shared accountability that extends beyond the individual. Fans now reflect on culture as much as music, and the story becomes a cautionary narrative about presence, proximity, and vigilance. Ultimately, Takeoff's memory embodies duality, celebration of his artistry and reflection on the circumstances that shaped his final moments. Public perception evolves not only through mourning, but through awareness, discourse, and cultural examination. His legacy, therefore, is both musical and instructive, a reminder that context and consequence are inseparable in the age of celebrity. The ethics of public evidence. The way tragic events are documented and disseminated raises pressing ethical questions. When a high-profile incident occurs, the balance between transparency, public interest, and respect for the deceased and their family is delicate. How society engages with evidence, recounts events, and memorializes lives becomes a measure of both responsibility and morality.
Johnny Dang, owner of Johnny Dang Iced Out Jewelry, was one of the last stops Takeoff would make just hours before the downtown shooting at 810 Billboard and Bowling.
We open late for you because that's a convenient.
For families, repeated exposure to details of a loved one's final moments complicates grieving. What might once have been private mourning becomes public, permanent, and searchable. Screenshots, discussions, and social media commentary extend the trauma, making memory mediated rather than organic. Families are forced to navigate a world in which grief is not only internal but external, scrutinized by strangers and amplified by technology. Media outlets and platforms face their own dilemmas. Publishing sensitive information may serve transparency and accountability, yet it risks sensationalizing tragedy. Once material is public, controlling its spread is nearly impossible. Platforms must balance the demand for information with the responsibility to minimize harm, a challenge compounded by the viral nature of modern communication. In entertainment, artists and managers confront exposure risks regularly. Social media, live streams, and location tags can inadvertently place individuals in danger. Takeoff's death highlights how visibility, while beneficial for brand and fan engagement, can also amplify risk. The ethics of sharing and observing tragic events are increasingly intertwined with considerations of safety, privacy, and dignity. Moreover, cultural memory is shaped by what is seen, shared, and remembered. The public becomes both witness and participant, interpreting tragedy through personal and collective lenses. This blurs boundaries between observation, judgment, and entertainment, raising questions about the role of spectatorship in modern grief. Ultimately, ethical engagement requires balance, honoring the deceased, supporting families, and providing context without exploiting pain. In a digital age, memory is mediated, and the choices of those who view, share, or report events influence how society remembers. The responsibility lies with both individuals and institutions to navigate this terrain thoughtfully. Recognizing that public documentation is not neutral, it shapes legacy, mourning, and culture itself. Celebrity risk, nightlife, and venue accountability. The circumstances surrounding Takeoff's death bring public safety into sharp focus, particularly in the context of nightlife and celebrity gatherings. For artists, management, venues, and fans alike, the incident underscores that visibility and public presence are double-edged. They build brand and fan connection, but they can also amplify vulnerability.
Mother of Migos rapper Takeoff has filed a lawsuit against the owners of the Houston venue where her son was shot and killed last November.
High-profile outings, after-parties, and exclusive events are marketed as glamorous lifestyle markers. However, these spaces often combine crowds, late hours, and limited control, creating an environment where risk can escalate quickly. In Takeoff's case, interactions in the lobby, mingling near entrances, and the clustering of individuals contributed to a scenario in which a sudden threat could occur unnoticed. The tragedy demonstrates that high-profile attendance alone does not guarantee safety. It demands careful planning, vigilance, and proactive management. Venue operators are now re-evaluating practices. Private parties, celebrity guests, and late-night events require strategic oversight, including vetted guest lists, enhanced security protocols, controlled access points, and emergency response planning. Failure to implement such measures can transform spaces from celebrations into potential hazards. Beyond operational responsibility, the reputational stakes for venues have increased. Lapses in security or oversight can have lasting professional and legal consequences. Artists and their teams are also recalibrating approaches to public visibility. Social media posts, live streams, and location tags, once standard promotional tools, are now assessed for safety implications. Every public appearance, every social media update carries potential risk, emphasizing the need for discretion alongside engagement. Takeoff's case serves as a cautionary example of how quickly visibility can intersect with threat. From a community and law enforcement perspective, the incident raises broader urban safety concerns. Crowds in late-night public spaces, combined with high-profile gatherings, create complex risk scenarios. Managing these interactions requires collaboration among venue operators, event staff, security teams, and local authorities. The focus shifts from reactive measures to proactive prevention. Ultimately, the tragedy highlights that public safety in nightlife is more than an operational concern. It is a cultural imperative. Celebrity lifestyle, crowd dynamics, and venue management all converge to define risk. Takeoff's death serves as a reminder that visibility and exposure demand responsibility at every level, and that safety protocols, planning, and situational awareness are as essential as the music, atmosphere, and celebration itself. Media, memory, and mourning. How legacy is shaped. Takeoff's death demonstrates the interplay between media coverage, public memory, and the preservation of legacy. In high-profile tragedies, the narrative that emerges is shaped not only by facts, but by how the story is presented, shared, and remembered. The framing of events influences mourning, cultural perception, and the interpretation of an artist's life. Fans experience grief in both personal and public ways. Social media memorials, tributes, and discussions create communal mourning spaces. However, the scrutiny and analysis that accompany high-profile deaths also alter the grieving process. Loss is no longer private, it is public, documented, and debated. This duality highlights how modern memory is mediated, shaped by both emotion and observation. Media coverage carries substantial responsibility.
And bringing a community together. Now tributes for Takeoff as music mourns Migos' youngest member, shot dead in Houston at the age of 28.
Outlets must navigate between informing the public and respecting dignity. Reporting must balance transparency with sensitivity, recognizing that how a story is told can affect families, collaborators, and communities. In Takeoff's case, coverage has extended beyond music, engaging discussions about environment, risk, and celebrity culture. The way these elements are highlighted influences how the public perceives both the individual and the industry. Legacy, in turn, becomes multidimensional. Takeoff's memory encompasses not only his music and artistry, but also the circumstances surrounding his final moments. His story informs industry practices, influences artist behavior, and shapes fan culture. The broader lesson extends beyond one individual. It highlights the intersection of fame, exposure, and vulnerability in contemporary culture. Commercial and cultural considerations are intertwined. Posthumous releases, streaming, merchandise, and branding decisions are affected by how events are remembered and framed. The narrative surrounding an artist's passing can influence both perception and consumption, making the stewardship of legacy a matter of care and strategy. In the end, Takeoff's memory is not static. It is actively shaped by media, public engagement, and cultural reflection. His life and death offer lessons about visibility, responsibility, and the consequences of environment and exposure. Legacy becomes both a celebration of artistry and a cautionary tale, reminding fans, industry professionals, and society of the profound responsibility in remembering lives while acknowledging the complexities of context, risk, and culture. Before you go, remember, the Takeoff case is far from closed. The footage, the movements, the unanswered questions, they all paint a picture the public hasn't seen yet. If you want to see what happens next, the investigation, the new evidence, and the deeper story behind that night, hit subscribe and turn on notifications. The next revelation could change everything.